One stream. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And we are live on the stream. Hello, everyone. Welcome to.
Yeah.
Dan, that was your mark to say welcome to post training.
What? Oh, well, crap. Do it again.
Nope. It's too late. We already screwed
up. Welcome to training post. No, posting about no. Crap. I don't know what's going on.
All right. Well, we tried. Welcome, folks. This week, hopefully, our audio sounds a little more balanced. But last week, we definitely had some commentary about that. But you know what? It was better than the first time we did this when half the audio was cut out. So that will forever haunt our endeavors on this program. So, Dan, how are you, sir?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm okay. How was your week of training?
My week of training was good. I hurt my shoulder a little bit because I decided to get a couple steel maces and they came in this week. So I started playing Tuesday. They came in. I was in the backyard just playing with them, and I got a 10-pounder and a 15-pounder. And so I was playing with of course the 15-pounder, and then I went to teach, and I had everybody, like, all right, we're gonna play with these today. And so I had, I think, 4 classes total on Tuesday, and most people could not hold the 15-pounder, so I had to use the 15-pounder all evening. And by the end of the day, I was a little sore. I was fine, but I was a little sore. But then the next day, I had to go and run errands. So I spent, a good deal amount of the time moving a steering wheel like this, and it must have just aggravated the shoulder muscle just a little bit more, just a little bit too much. And it was, oh gosh, by the time, like right before we got home, my shoulder was killing me. Now it's fine.
Gotta get some like from up in that.
Yeah.
Get some berries and some mojo.
Right. But so that that was my week in a nutshell. But it was a good week. Focused on little things. Focused on some crossover training, some good universal principles. Yeah, it was good. It was a good week.
Good. I see that you had posted something you mentioned to me was rather controversial. I don't know if you wanted to get into that now or you wanted to get into that later.
Oh, that's up to you. You want to get into it now? That's fine. Yeah. So talking about crossover training, my system of karate, the lineage founder incorporated different styles into his karate. So specifically Tantui and Taiji Chuan, and then into Shotokan, Shoryu, Shorinryu style karate. And a lot of people in my lineage give a lot of lip service to the Taiji Chuan principles that go into the karate. And one of the reasons why I put out the internal functionality of Korean karate videos on Bujin, and the intro to the Shippensei videos, and the tactical Tai Chi type of stuff is I try to show, that the intermingling, the intermix of Taiji Chuan principles within the karate, specifically within our lineage, is really deep and diverse and worth studying and worth actually implementing, right? But instead of some people just talk about it and they don't actually do it. So I put out a video showing this in a more direct way, because I have me doing the form, the my lineage founder doing the form in pictures, and I thought it was going to get more traction, but it
more hate than love, but
more, yeah, exactly.
Well,
But it didn't.
You want to jump on? I don't know if you can see what I'm saying, but
I can't yet.
I'm still kind of a newbie at this, but I'm going to flip us over to. You want to flip? I'm going to flip us over to the movie.
Okay.
And okay. Otherwise, we're going to get sued by that band. Okay, so you can see what
I'm seeing your whole OBS. I'm seeing your whole OBS screen.
Shh! Don't tell them. All right, so I don't think I can just play this. All right, and this is you going through this, and I thought this was an interesting side by side comparison, and it's not really. What I thought was interesting about this was you're not really doing anything to overly introduce it. You're not doing anything to overly, emphasize like I'm the guy who's doing this. I'm the guy who's doing X, Y, Z. You just talked about that, but you just did it and then posted and just showed like okay, and you've got a short application here, and that to me is something I appreciate more than anything else because there's nothing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that audio is coming over or not. I'm just gonna kill the audio so it's not interrupting us. But
yeah, I try not to. I have had this discussion with people before where
like if you how many times do you like after you learn something and you're like this is amazing, but then you want to go around and you want to tell other people how amazing it is. Sometimes like we have this whole empty cup analogy that we like to use, and you're like, I wish I could share this with people, but their cups aren't empty. And it's like this is a very true thing, but you can't just go around and knock people's cups over. You can't be like that tea's no good and just like knock it over. People are going to be like, screw you, quit knocking over my tea. They're not going to be like, oh, thank you for knocking over my tea. Now I can fill it with something else. Nobody does that. So like you can't go around and be like, listen, people, your tea's no good. You can't do that. So I've always been, well, more recently, but I've been getting better at it. Of just sharing good things, sharing what I do, sharing what I learned, sharing, this thing. And it's not an attack on anybody. It's not, telling, what you do is wrong or what you do is right or blah, blah, blah. I don't get into that anymore. I just like sharing, this is cool. Look at this. This is what we're doing. And then, over time, I get people that are kind of like, well, that's different. And I don't like it. And then later, like months go by and they go, well, that's different. And it's interesting. Then like later they go, well, that's different. And I kind of like it, So like, this is how I like to introduce concepts to people. And so, yeah, I'm not going to overtly come out and be like, hey, everybody, I discovered this amazing thing. You should check this out. No, that's not how I share things.
Well, it doesn't work to do that because I think we're around the same age where it became less about the art and more about kind of like our own personal like endeavors on stuff. And then the more we discover, it's kind of like when you discover something new, you want to like share it with the world, right? And then suddenly that new thing is the new paradigm. You can't, like I just figured out that this position's better than this position. Everyone should do this now. Oh, this position is just weak. Everyone who's been doing this for 20 years is completely wrong. And I remember when I had like that quote unquote like moment where I was trying to overcorrect one small thing, and then overcorrect on everyone the one small thing, rather than just being like, that's a thing. That's a thing I do now. Other people do that other thing. That's cool. But if I show this other thing and just show what I do, it does. Other people's opinions just are their opinions, and everything's fine.
Everything is fine.
And I think that comes to a bit of wisdom, but also comes from youthful. What's really sad is I went through a period of really wanting to learn as much as I could, and then being told only this one thing is right, and then
Right.
believing that for way too long, and then now kind of backtracking to how I was much earlier on to that thing's cool, that thing's cool, that thing will work. Maybe if you mix and match, maybe you just kind of nuance something a little more, then you can make something.
Yeah. Then you get context for things.
Yeah,
and that's huge because for instance, that application for the Tai Chi move. I've showed it in the videos I have on Bujin, and I show it later in another clip with Naihanchi. But it's the same. So like if I do this movement here and I just parry like this, then the uppercut works really well because I'm over top of the arm and their face is right there and it's beautiful. So the Tai Chi move works really, really well. But if I bring their arm down, I can't do an uppercut anymore because their head's down there. So the technique is the same. I'm still doing a parry, pass, trap, control, but then I drop my weight, I bring their head down. Now a short punch this way, a little hook punch works better. So then the Naihanchi application will work. So it's more about context because if I say no, you this only works because my elbow's nice and strong. This is stupid. I won't ever do that. No, you have to understand the context of why is it like this. I'm not going to punch somebody like this because I'm going to hit with these little knuckles and it's going to hurt. So I roll it. Now I hit with the two big knuckles. Yeah, it makes sense. But only because their head's down there. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. It just reminded me that this week, one of the schools I was teaching, some of the kids were trying to do like a little, and I was like, no, you do it like this. And some of my coworkers were like, what? And I was like, yeah, you do it like this, so you make sure that these two knuckles take on most force, and that you want to make sure the alignment's right, so the wrist takes it right. And they're like, I've done karate for a while, and they're like,
oh John.
So true story. This week, so our friend Tuari over at the Invisible Sensei podcast had his like little Bunkai Jam.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is another thing you feel excluded from.
I wasn't able to make it. I wanted to really badly.
No, because there was a bit of shade throwing. There's a bit of internal shade throwing going on this week. But it was nothing like saying that taught him when he talked about Shotokan. That was a possible cancel moment for him, and I'm glad we got through it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I thought that was today, actually, and I thought I would have been doing a live stream, seminar,
and then the jam session,
and then possibly like do a record later, and. Where I live, it's about like 30 minutes to kind of a bigger part of the town where, you can get groceries and stuff. So it was like, all right, I can take a shower, can go do this, I was like 10 minutes into a drive, got to drive uphill, and I just realized today is May 1st. That's today. Oh, I just turned the car around, sped home, just enough time to get in on that. That was a really nice time. It was a really nice time. It was really, he did a really, really good job of making sure everyone participated in some way. We only had an hour and a half, so not everyone could participate, I think, in the way that was intended, but it was a really good first go at it. So
that's cool.
Hopefully we can get maybe a more focused version of that going with just like some of our friends from there, and we can do. I feel there is a larger having 15 people in a Zoom meeting is difficult, especially if you're trying to do techniques with people in different locations. But it was a really, really, really great time, and I really enjoyed it. So shout out to
awesome.
Over in down in New Zealand. Shout out to our friends who were there. And hopefully next time, Dan, we can get you on. Or because that would have been
I guess
for you. That would have been.
I need a podcast first. No.
You don't need a podcast. No one needs a podcast.
I'm already thinking about it. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm already thinking about it.
Just join one. There's like 5 of them.
Well, nobody's had me on a podcast yet. Well, besides this.
Yeah, well, this is kind of a new thing.
It's a new thing. This is cool.
In some ways, because everyone complains about like a podcast being being purely audio, and then they see jokes and stuff, and then it's like, oh, well, it's not purely audio. What the hell is your problem? So, and then like they see my face, and they're like, make it purely audio.
Make it purely audio.
Oh God.
I'm just. Who am I? Nobody wants me on their show. I'm a nobody.
So am I.
Hi, everybody. My name's Dan. I like sitting outside under the moon.
He's not single, kids. He's a good family man.
I have a wife and 2 kids and 2 dogs and 5 chickens, and yeah.
Have him on your show. Have him on your show.
There we go. That's it. I'll have a podcast about my chickens and my dogs and my family, and you'll just get a bunch of chickens honking and clucking in the background.
And there'll be no. Oh my God! All right, we're riffing too much on podcasting. All right, so I got to bring this down. I have to be the responsible one here now.
Yes, you do, because it ain't me.
Right. So in terms of training this week. So there was that for me. There was that this week, and I really felt like this was a comeback week for me. I got about 3 really, really good, decent days of training in. And
that's awesome.
Yes, and I really felt like I had very not big or difficult or anything like that. Just 3 really decent days of training, and one day we're actually off. Where boom, these guys came out pretty hard. So these are because we have our friend Sal, who's converting everybody to the cult of steel mace.
Shout out to you, Sal.
Clearly, you've fallen into this, or into the religion, I should say, not cult, the religion. You're converted, baptized by steel.
We are a peaceful community.
Yeah. I'm not going to go too much farther on that. Anyway. So
talk about the nunchaku.
No, I'm going to talk about the nunchaku, John. So, and this is something that's gone around with folks I've worked with for a while, where it's just, especially when it comes to Kobudo, heavy versus, because we've seen a lot of like crap from like Century or just whatever knockoff thereof, where it's just toothpick bows and foam nunchucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then people started innovating. I don't want to say innovating, but started using harder woods, more denser woods. And when I was like 19, 20, started really working with like Brazilian walnut bows, like heavier stuff. And a friend of mine, he's a friend, and I taught him karate for a long time. He still does karate today. Got me these as a Christmas present about 7 years ago.
Sweet.
8 years ago. And these are the only nunchaku I have from you. And so one thing I really learned this week, because of stealing everybody to like steel mace, I'm like, I don't have steel mace. I have nunchaku. I have heavy nunchaku though. And the one problem I've always seen, I don't know if you dealt with this in much of the Kobudo that or even just notice this with the forms you do, but everything is extremely right-handed.
Yeah.
So with
like sword is a lot of left hand because you're focusing on that left pinky, right? So it's just this way, but you don't want to like muscle with the right hand, with Japanese sword, but like bow staff, yeah. Bow. I just said bow staff. That's just horrible.
Yep. Well, I'm glad you caught yourself.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're gonna have really awkward post.
Sorry, everybody. Sorry, forgive me. We used to live. This is real. We used to live in Western Pennsylvania, and there was a road called Bethel Church Road but Bethel means church, so it's like church road. And so it was like I would always be like, that's what people do when they say Bo Staff. So yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Well, and again, you're talking about Western Pennsylvania. If you're talking about like Lancaster County and stuff like that, you have intercourse and pleasure and paradise. So
I have family in Lancaster. Lancaster's nice. Out in Amish country. I love the Amish.
No comment. I have family there. No comment. So anyway, Amish,
Nunchaku.
Bethel, Nunchaku. Right.
I bet you the Amish would make amazing Kobe weapons.
Are you kidding? It's like the Animaniacs barn raising thing. It's like they probably wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and be like, it's a Kobodo making time.
I know someone who has
I'd say they
like a longbow, like an English longbow made by an Amish guy, and it was like 80 pounds. It was incredible.
Amish in karate, I don't understand. We need to do investigative journalism on this. That'll be our next thing, a documentary on the Amish and violence. But I guess cause everyone's like, John, do a martial arts. Stop talking. The one thing is, if you can hear me all right. So the one problem with Nunchaku that I've done is that everything's right-handed, so a lot of the form will go like that, or it'll go like that, right? And so one thing I've been working on, this is by no means a demonstration, it's just an idea, is that basically taking this, redirect, come over here, do this, redirect, come over here. And it's just, you do bagua and stuff, right? So it's like going in that circle, or going into the different directions. So it's being able to hit the different directions.
Even in sword work, you have positive and negative angles, female and male angles, triangles, all that jazz. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to essentially do that with this, and not to a lesser extent, I got to this with side and Tombo. Yeah. Where I was just like, all right, experiment with angles. Like, don't focus on the form so much. Like, do the form once as the analysis bit, but then for the actual practice bit, you're actually doing the breakdown and figuring out where this goes around. So dogs are welcome on the stream, so no worries.
What?
Dogs are welcome on the stream, so no worries.
Oh yeah, she's enjoying herself. What? What are you marking it? Are you gonna say hi? No, but I love that. I love taking. You take one or two movements and just drill it in many different ways, and make it. Focus on the gross motor movement, and focus on your big muscles. And then dial it into the small muscles and the smaller things. Like that's, I love doing that.
That's 10 times more important than working on a form, in my opinion. Because
I agree.
Because you can. This gets in the debate. Well, go ahead, go to our forms. Got our forms as being able to use them, and you can't put form on people. No, you got to break it down and then make it work in a situation. Just like you're doing in that clip, right?
Right. I mean, you look at baseball players, and to practice, their swing, they put a heavy thing on the end of the bat, or they hold two bats, and they practice the swing. Oops. And then they throw the bat away, and then they actually go and try to hit the ball, or if they're going to practice fielding, they're going to practice one thing, right? Ball gets hit to them, they catch it, they throw it. The ball gets hit to them, they catch it, and they throw it. Just drill the little things. I don't know why karate people, think differently or whatever. But I mean, there's a ton of sports science that goes behind the making of amazing athletes, and yet karate people are like, no, just do the form. It's like, no.
Well, I think part of that is. This is something I want to talk to Michael about, too, because I feel he would have a lot to say about this.
I bet he would, yeah.
Michael, where are you? We know where we know where he is. We know where he is. We got names. But the idea, I think, generally is that karate is this separate thing, and that when people say sport karate, they think of useless karate. They think of karate that doesn't work, or karate that isn't, very effective in a real world practical situation. But if you took the example of practicing for a sport in the same way that you practice for self-defense, that goes into whether or not those are the same things. And practice is practice. So good practice is, a bit of a different story. But I think that's generally a part of the answer, is that everyone will have all these, component parts of how to defend yourself, but they won't have that knowledge of how to actually practice it. So they'll get all the beats, as it were, or they'll do all the things, but they won't actually know how to do any of it.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like we were talking last time, I think, about fitness and how important fitness is to your self-defense. Just the other day, somebody posted on one of the groups, about practicing do you practice running away? Like I saw it the other day. It's like, do you practice running? Do you run? Is this a part of your self-defense training? Because if you're going to say that part of self-defense is negating a situation and running in the other direction, you have to practice running.
If you're slow, they're going to catch up to you.
I mean, that's the thing. So martial movement is human movement. Self-defense is human movement. Any sport is human movement. If you don't practice moving efficiently, and if you don't practice moving well and at a high level, you can't expect to defend yourself well at a high level.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that's what you said there. I think I'm thinking on my own training with kind of the flaws I had picked up from other people, while trying to extract the good things that I had gotten from those experiences, and trying to mix and mesh them. So, there's all these good things I don't want to necessarily let go of, but they have to be practiced the right way, or do something else. That's where I kind of am. I kind of am at this point this week, where it's just, I feel like I've gotten most things right, but I have to make a choice of whether or not I really have to work on development in terms of practical practice, rather than just, all right, did the form, boom, okay, awesome, that's time.
Yeah, I feel you.
But what do you think is from? I guess one question we can kind of get into a little bit, as kind of a larger conversation, as it were, is what is the heaviest weapon you've ever worked with?
I'm trying to remember what they're called. But they're like the big, big wooden. They get to be like this round, and they're octagonal sometimes, and they've got studs on them.
Oh wait, are you talking about Subirito?
Yes, but it's not like it's not just a Subirito. It's got studs in it. I gotta remember. Hold on.
I'm a really weighted Subirito. It's
very weighted.
They put metal in it to make it heavier. Yeah, that's about.
Well, and it becomes a weapon. So Tetsubo.
Don't know the formal name.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to.
When did you work on that? Or do you work on that generally?
Probably no. I don't have one. I wish I had one. I used to have one, but it broke, and I never got another one. This is probably maybe 15 years ago, maybe. Yeah. But most of the swords that I've used are light, because most swords are light. Contrary to popular belief, old medieval swords were not heavy. They were probably 2 pounds at most. I'm going to say this, and people are probably going to correct me, but I'm pretty sure. So, like, when all this armor and weapons and swords and things were being unearthed in like the 1800s. They found like this gigantic armor and these big, huge, 6 foot, 7 foot swords. And they were like, wow, these knights must have been huge. And they wielded these gigantic weapons. And what they were actually uncovering was jousting armor and bearing swords. And bearing swords were these big, gigantic swords that were carried in parades. So they were just like this big, gigantic symbol of the lord or whoever, the king or whoever you were with. And but they were not used in combat. So like the long swords.
That sword is really big. He must be combat.
Yeah, and there's one in like the museum, and I think it's in Wales. But it's gigantic, and it's like people are like, that's a huge sword, but it was never meant to be wielded like a sword. It was just this big gigantic thing that was carried.
Probably stab somebody with it. It's not that big of a deal.
Not that big a deal.
I think Superito was probably. I had a heavy super. I didn't have a heavy Superito. I used a heavy Superito, but I have also held like really. Some people really. I think the heaviest weapon I ever had. It's might be at a parent's house somewhere.
I'm gonna be right back.
Oh no, Dan's gotta go.
I gotta go plug in my computer. Hold on. I forgot to plug it in. Hold on.
We'll
I'll be 2 seconds. Maybe more.
I'm gonna make a sound so our people who are watching are entertained. For those of you at home, nunchaku, any sort of weapon, please do not do this without some sort of instructional supervision. If you've never handled a weapon before, please have someone around who knows how to handle a weapon, who is experienced with teaching weapons. Please do not do this without any sort of supervision. And please do not allow children to handle weapons unless they are made of foam or possibly paper. I could be wrong. Anyway, Dan's still working on that. There you go.
I'm back.
He's
I
back.
apologize, everybody.
Okay. Don't worry. I was giving a general advisory warning about weapon use.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I always try to do that at the beginning of anything I make because I don't want people being like, "I'm good at heavy nunchaku, so I can do it like that guy does it on the internet."
Yep. And ouch.
Yeah, and then people go to the emergency room and try to fly me up. It does kind of cut down on liability, I guess. But anyway, the heaviest weapon I think I have, and what's probably made this heavier than necessary, was I have an Aku, an ore.
Yes.
The person who tried to make it bow length, which really doesn't work for Aku. Aku's a lot more. It's more akin to a Joe than a bow. I think that's where the mistake there is. But it was made of Ife. It was made of Brazilian walnut. So the flat of it, the actual ore part was super heavy. So I was doing stuff where it was like bringing it up in the air, flipping it up and stuff like that, and just holy Christmas alive. And you could really feel like what side stuff was on when you were doing that. So, but I wouldn't use that anymore to like practice because it just wears you out, and then you can't really practice after a while. So it's not really the person. It wasn't designed for what it was meant for. It needed to be shaped down.
I got you. Yeah. I got you. So, I just did a quick search, and Tetsubo are like 10 plus pounds. So like there's the one that I see all the time are made by Nihonzashi.
and it says like these can weigh over 10 pounds. Like this is gigantic. It's a Japanese war club, is what it's called. And then there's one here, like the mate that's.
Oh, I see what
this
you're
one
saying.
it's 11 pounds. This one, historical one. Yeah, but they're cool.
Ooh, I'm gonna see.
There's a cannibal. A mace. Yeah, there we go.
Hold on. I'm going to see if I can do a.
You gonna do a screen share?
Ooh, I might be able to. Hold on. Window capture. Not that one. This guy. And you can't see that, but you might be able to see it if I do this. Haha. So this is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long? So who taught you that?
It was just a part of the weapons work I was doing in my school. Like it wasn't anything. I didn't learn any specific Ryuha or anything about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know where that would come from.
I'm not sure.
Maybe that guy. I don't know. Let's get off of Google with this because, well, it's Google and we don't need that.
We don't need that.
It's not that. It's that. I don't know. It's weird for work sometimes when you get to pull stuff up on Google, and then okay, there you go. Just don't do it in front of the kids. Cool. So, what do you think is your biggest takeaway, other than the steel mace and mace working and I guess the shoulder stuff? What's the biggest takeaway from this week? I guess.
This week. So, I think for me, my biggest takeaway from this week is how important it is to cross-reference things and drill the small things a lot. And not just drill the small things a lot, but once you're able to get the small things. Oh my gosh. That is my beagle.
Don't sweat the small things, man.
But so when you're able to get the small things well, do them in multiple ways. With resistance, without resistance, change level, change range, do the small things. And then when it comes time to get the big things, then it's easier, right? Or when you start to say, oh well, I see this technique in Wing Chun, or I see this technique in Tai Chi, or I see this technique in Bagua, or I see this technique in wherever.
No. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. I like that his name's Merlin.
I think we're almost done.
We're about that. Don't worry.
But I don't know if that makes sense. That makes sense. I think when you're able to see little things and then see how they work kind of universally, then you can kind of branch out and say, oh well, that if I tweak this just a little bit and I use it within this context, then it'll work here, and it still ends up being the same thing. And I think that's kind of cool. Cool. So that's what we did. That's what we did this week.
I'm having flashbacks to our first couple of podcasts where we had dogs.
So my beagle is the most dramatic thing in the world because the other dog doesn't really bark. Nimue doesn't really bark, but Merlin when they fight, when they play, he's the only one who barks, and it's like he has to bark for both of them, and that's all that's happening. Like she's just kind of baiting him and wanting to run around. He's like, I'm just going to scream at you. So we're
That's
having a
not
screaming.
martial practice. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I think the takeaway for me this week is just keep pushing, and just like keep. Even if you only have a couple consistent days, that's or even if you only have like one or two successes, that's enough. So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
and use what you have.
Yeah.
You don't need anything fancy.
Don't have still days. I've got nunchucks.
Exactly.
But I always forget that I have them, and I like walk away from that. I was like, huh. Oh yeah. So.
Well, cool.
It's a weird object permanence issue. That object's over there. It's not over here. I can't use it.
Right.
Of course, there's nothing to be able to keep me from walking over there anymore.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it seems like the dogs want us to kill the stream. So, folks, we'll leave it there for now. But
I apologize.
No, there's no problem.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Looking forward to
with music and dancing, possible more guests, and
there
special
you go.
guest stars and celebrity hosts. There we go. All right,
well,
friends.
peace. Thank you all.